Privyet. On today's journey, we're going to Russia. After 30-something hours flying, we finally touched down. We didn't get out of the airport until about 1 o'clock in the morning, so we'd have to wait until the next day to find out what we had in store. Alright, first day in Russia, so we woke up and thought we'd take a walk through the city. We checked out a few of the famous buildings, some churches and some mosques. The architecture here was definitely different to anything I'd ever seen. Took a stroll through a local market. After walking around all day and seeing the sights, we finally started to stumble back to our hotel because we had the bus trip that we were going on. We did a tour around the Kremlin, and honestly, man, everything looked like Disneyland. It was insane. After checking out a few more sites, our bus trip was done, so it was time to head back. A quick little swim and a sauna in the hotel, and we were done for the night. The next morning, after a short little drive through the countryside, we'd finally find out what we came to Russia for. Seeing this skate park for the first time was a little surreal, but it was time to get in some practice. From there, me and a few boys were sent to go work at a Russian McDonald's. We basically got hired on the spot, so we started making some Big Macs for everybody. Some of the patrons loved our burgers so much, they just had to get an autograph. After a nice photo with all of our co-workers, it was time to enjoy a staff meal. After we got off work, it was time for our next appointment. We put a bunch of makeup on and then we had to do these action shot intros. And once that was wrapped up, it was time to get another practice session in. And after a little meeting, it was time to celebrate Yvonne's birthday. And we kept the good times rolling long into the night. And the next morning, we were straight on our way back for another practice session. here for the PHYGITAL Games, which is half physical and half digital. So we had to get some video game practice in, which would keep us busy for the rest of the evening. And then the next morning, you guessed it, back for some more practice. And as we'd take the bus through what would seem like another endless forest of birch trees, the sun was going down. It was time to get some rest because we had a big day ahead of us tomorrow. The morning bells were chiming, so it was time for us to make our way to the comp.
По количеству набранных баллов по результатам полуфинала.
Команда Лонгнек, Бен Карри, Рики Глайзер, Никсон Осборн и Николас Кларк.
It was finally our turn to step up to the plate, so first off we had Nixon with the run.
Перспективный райдер, интересно, что он покажет.
Он очень хорошо катается в радиусах, поэтому посмотрим, что он покажет в стрит-части. Не знаю, будет ли он делать свой знаменитый хэндплент, может он это сделает для толпы, потому что в попытке нельзя это делать только в радиусе, они просто не засчитываются.
Он может в качестве разворота просто сделать смит-грайнд. Ну, очень-очень медленно движется, на мой взгляд. Можно было успеть...
Зато смотри, какой он собранный.
Да. Ну, наконец-то. Ну, хоть кто-то использовал эту часть парка.
Он это сделает.
Да, использует в качестве разворота, потому что в диджитале в игре про скейт невозможно сделать этот трюк. Там нет такого функционала катания именно в радиусе.
Последний трюк. Успеет ли он щелкнуть? Да, успел.
Nixon's run went off without a hitch, and now we had the chance to replicate it in the video game. And if we did, we would get some bonus points.
Едет по рейву.
Да, такой ракурс, что непонятно, как будто на файво было немного.
And then it was over to Ricky.
Так, Рики Глейзер. Теперь все зависит. Странно, как могли не увидеть прошлый год и прошлый.
Квалификации, полуфинал, финал. Тут показывает мощное катание.
Прикусывает губу, лишь бы не запороть.
Kind of sketched out on this 50-50 transfer here, but managed to salvage it. But everything else pretty much went according to plan.
Я видел их раскатки, и они прям...
Как Смит удался в этот раз, отлично.
Идеальное повторение.
But overall, we were all pretty satisfied on how we went. Just had to get those video game replays in there.
Странно, вы...
Давай, Рик, у вас крутой логотип.
With our round 1 score down, it was time for round 2.
Видимо, команда.
Now it was Kaz's turn and he would be going for the best trick.
Давайте дождемся хотя бы полуфинальных заездов. Когда у нас из 16 команд останется...
Each skater would get 4 attempts at the best trick, so Kazan managed to slip this one in the pocket off the first try.
Все.
And then it was a nice easy one for Ricky, no stress.
Так, Рики Глейзер. Теперь все зависит от него. Хорошее повторение. Умножается все это на 1,5, значит. Будем разбираться.
Then 2 tries later, Kaza also managed to put this one down.
Ребята из Австралии.
Они имеют в виду сделанный ноли хилл.
Вау. Или нет. Ноузграйнд был за...
Another easy one for Rick.
Осталось повторить,
На шее.
чтобы умножить все дело на 1,5. Бам! Отлично, да, получилось.
The scores were in, and we'd managed to secure ourselves 9th place. Unfortunately, only the top 8 would advance.
Осталось
A few interviews later and it was time for us to head back to the hotel. And now that we'd been officially knocked out of the competition, it was finally time to relax. We finished the night off at the hookah bar, and then the next morning we went and got some tourist stamps. Then we decided we'd go and see what else the Games of the Future had to offer. After getting pumped up on these bikes, we thought we'd go and try and find where the BMX facility was. We tracked down the BMX street course that they'd made for the games, and while it was empty, we decided we'd have a roll around. In the same building, they also had this massive indoor bowl. And there was also this. We saw the BMX Park Finals wrap up. Some more press. And then we made our way to the local bar where some of the boys were premiering their skate parts. Followed by some dancing that would continue well into the evening. The next day we wanted to go and explore a little bit, so we went and rented a car. Found this buddy just hanging out by himself, and he decided that he wanted to tag along. After a while of hiking through the middle of what seemed like nowhere, Ricky and Nixon found themselves a nice spot to take a dip. After making our way back to the car, it was time to say goodbye to Buddy. We had another town we were trying to visit and the sun was starting to set. And just as dusk was setting in, we'd arrived in the small island town of Sviatsk. And for the rest of the evening, we'd spend our time walking around this village. As night set upon us, we made our way down to the frozen Volga River.
We off?
When we got back to Kazan that evening, we thought we'd treat ourselves with a evening of wholesome activities at Muzza Park. We were all pretty roasted by this point, so we thought we'd pack it in for the night. In the morning we had to drop back our rental, but there was one place that we wanted to check out first, the Temple of All Religions. Once the night had set in, our handler Katya wanted to show us the beauty of the Russian train stations and take us on an evening tour of the city. We celebrated a little at one of her friend's restaurants.
Yeah, ready.
And then we closed out the night with a Ferris wheel ride.
Music and heater.
The games were over and it was time to check out who had won. Gleb was finally off work, so we got a little behind the scenes skate in. And then it was time for the closing ceremony. And after it was all said and done, it was time for the after party. In what seemed like a blink of an eye, our trip had come to an end. One more moment to take it in and we were on our way home. Cheers, thanks for having me everybody. I'll see you all again soon.